And now we'll take a moment to get comfortable and breathe into the belly. And maybe take a little movement, a little wiggling and jiggling here and there to start to notice sensations in your body. Feel into what's going on, where you might feel a little tension, a little strain, a little tweakiness, or a little ease, a little coolness, a little warmth. We'll take a moment to notice. And we'll put one hand on the belly, right at the navel, and one hand on the heart. And really draw the attention down towards the belly. Feel the inhale into your belly, filling it up like a balloon, and then exhale, pressing it out. Inhale, really let it fill up. And then exhale, use the muscles in the abdomen to really press out all the air. Drawing the navel towards the spine. And we'll take a few more like that. On your exhale, really pressing the navel back as we exhale. Inhale, really fill up the belly. And then we'll let the hands go. And then notice your breath now. Then we'll transition onto all fours. Coming into a tabletop position. Shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. And we'll elongate through the spine. Let's see if you can picture your spine lengthening all along the spine. So we'll reach forward with the crown of the head and reach backward with the tail. And then on an exhale, we'll sink the hips down towards the heels and come into child's pose. Then on our inhale, we'll lift back up to tabletop. Exhale, sink down into child's pose. Drop the forehead for a moment with your exhale. And inhale, come back up to tabletop. And one more time, we'll exhale, sink the hips back. And inhale, lift back up to tabletop. Widening between the shoulder blades. So feel as we press down firmly with the palms, as we can feel the space right between the shoulder blades, widening, opening up, creating space. And then we'll drop the low belly, tilt the pelvis, and look forward, coming into our cat-cow, drawing the shoulder blades together in the back. And then exhale, round through the low back, mid-back, and drop the head. Inhale, drop the belly, tilting the pelvis, lifting it upwards as we look forward. And then exhale, tucking through the pelvis, dropping the head down. And one more, drop the belly. And this time we'll come up onto our toes. Just come up onto the toes and notice how different that feels, pressing into the toes. And then exhale, rounding through the low back, mid back, upper back, and this time draw the thighs towards each other. They don't actually move, we just press the inner thighs towards each other. And then we'll come back to our tabletop. And take a breath, reset. And then we'll tuck the toes under, And lift the hips up high, coming into our downward facing dog. And for our first dog, we'll pedal out through the feet here, dropping one heel, then the other. Warming up through the feet, through the lower body. And then walk the feet up to meet the hands. And you can just walk them straight up or you can crisscross them. And then we'll come to our forward fold, bringing the toes to touch and the heels slightly separated, and then we'll drop the head. And drop the hands, let them just relax and dangle wherever they are. And we'll keep the knees bent for a little while here. And breathe into the belly again. Belly resting down on the thighs. With the exhale, we'll really press the navel back towards the spine. And we'll slowly start to straighten through the knees just a little bit here. And then on an inhale, we'll spread the arms out wide as we lift up, coming from the core, and look all the way up, reaching the hands up. And lifting here, lifting the arms from the back. Keeping the shoulders down away from the ears. And then we'll try to look up without arching through the back. So we'll keep the pelvis tucked up under as we look up so that the movement is coming from the back, from the neck. And then exhale, we float all the way down, arms out wide. So we swan dive all the way back down to our forward fold. And inhale, we'll halfway lift, drag the hands up the thighs, and pause here, hugging the elbows in, flat back, long through the neck. And then from here, we'll bend the knees. Coming into a modified chair pose here, really hugging up through the abs, feeling long through the low back, long through the neck. And then on an exhale, we round through. So round the low back, round through the upper back, drop the head like our cat-cow, but in our chair pose. And then inhale, lift back up, tilt the pelvis back up to neutral. Come back with the head lined up with the spine. And then exhale, rounding through the spine again. Keep the elbows out wide so the shoulders have space, widening through those shoulder blades. And then on an exhale, we'll tilt the pelvis back forward, draw the spine straight, draw the elbows back in so we can feel the shoulders coming back into place. And then on our exhale, we'll twist over towards the right and open up the arms to a wide position here. And then come back to center. Take a breath here, inhale. And on an exhale, we'll open the arms and twist over towards the left. And then come back to center. And then firming up through the abs, through the belly, coming from lifting through the navel center, we'll inhale and lift all the way back up and reach the hands up high. And take the eyes with you, look up towards the hands. And then this time, we'll go ahead and feel long through the belly, feel long through the thighs, and go ahead and reach up a little bit more if it's comfortable for you, coming into a little baby back bend, a little arching through the back. And then float the hands down sideways. We'll come back to our mountain pose. We'll take a breath here, feeling into all four corners of the feet, chin parallel to the earth. We'll slide the head back a little bit so the neck feels in line with the spine. Relaxing through the top of the shoulders, but staying lifted through the chest. Feeling that into that opposition of staying lifted through the core, through the chest, but allowing the shoulders to drop down. Maybe even close your eyes and see if you can feel into the lifting of the chest and the dropping of the shoulders. And then on an inhale, we'll reach back up again. And exhale, float all the way back down. We'll dive back into our forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, long neck, long spine. Catch a wave here, and exhale, float back down. And this time, we will plant the palms and take the right toes back and the left toes back, and then lift the hips up high into our downward facing dog. Let the heels drop down towards the ground and rotating the shoulders outward so those elbow creases point towards the index fingers. And then dropping the chest towards the knees, lifting up through the hips, keeping the abs firm. And then we'll take the left hand and reach over and tap the right knee, and then bring it back. Take a breath. Ground through both hands firmly. And then on an inhale, we'll take the right hand and reach it over towards the left knee, and then bring it back. And then we'll come back down onto the knees, back to our tabletop position. And then we'll take the left hand forward, reach the left fingertips forward, and reach the right foot back. And then we'll come up onto the left toes and see how that helps our stability here. Dialing those right toes down, reaching through the fingertips and through the heel. And then inhale, we'll draw the left elbow towards the right knee, bring them both in to meet in the middle. And then exhale, we'll reach them both back out, pressing through the heel, the right foot, keeping it lifted. Lifting up out of the shoulders, noticing if we're sinking down into the shoulder space, and see if you can press back up with that right hand, and then we'll come back to center. And we'll come up onto the right toes and reach the right fingertips forward and reach the left heel back. Now reaching firmly through the right fingertips and out the left heel, hugging up through the abs, lifting up out of that left shoulder. And then we'll inhale and draw the right elbow into and the left knee in, and have them meet here in the middle under your belly. And then reach them both back out. Lifting up out of the shoulder, lifting through that left heel, through the left inner thigh. Feeling that movement coming from the left inner thigh as we rotate it up. And then come back to center, come back to our tabletop, drop the feet down. And exhale, we float back down with the hips down into our chest. And on an inhale, we'll come back up to tabletop and then round through the back. And then exhale, we'll sink back down into our child's pose. Inhale, come back to tabletop and round through the spine, drop the head. And exhale, sink the hips back down into child's pose. We'll take a breath here. And then inhale, we'll come back up to our tabletop. And then tuck the toes under and lift the hips up back into our downward facing dog. And maybe you want to take the hands a little forward here a little bit more. You can play around with that, or maybe you're good with where they are. Just notice where the hands want to go. And then we'll shift forward, coming into a plank position, reaching the hips up under, so tucking the pelvis and reaching energy out through those heels. Pause here for a moment and then hug the elbows in, shifting forward onto the toes, and we'll lower all the way down onto the belly slowly for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come all the way down onto the belly. And then inhale, we lift up through the torso. Our baby cobra, pressing down through the hips. This movement coming through the back. So we're strengthening through the back. So we're not pressing too much into the hands. They're there. Lift your hands up for a little bit. Back down. And then on an exhale, we'll float the head back down. Press up onto the knees, so we're coming back up onto all fours. And then we'll walk the hands back to the knees and come up all the way into a kneeling position. We'll take a moment here. We'll find a good kneeling position so that we're straight. Head is straight over the knees. And then inhale, we'll reach up through the hands. And then exhale, we'll sink the hips down and bring the forehead down. Sweep the hands behind you as we come into our child's. Interlacing the fingers briefly. Inhale, come back up to kneeling, reach up sideways with the hands and then all the way up. And then exhale, sweep the hands down and behind you as we bring the head, forehead down, hips down. One more time, inhale, lifting up into our kneeling position, pressing forward with the hips. And then exhale, floating the hips back down, forehead down, hands come back behind you. Back to our child's pose. And from here, we'll just keep the hands together for a moment and stay here, breathing here into the belly, feeling the low back widening, and then allow the shoulder blades to just drop down to the sides. And notice how that feels.